Hello, like mother, like murder listeners. I am Rachel.
And I'm Heather.
We are the hosts of Like Mother, Like Murder.
We bring you the good, the badass, and the crime.
Each week, we bring you stories from missing and murdered
to survivors and women who empower you.
And of course, some mom talk sprinkled in.
Check us out wherever you get your podcasts at Like Mother, Like Murder.
And give us a follow on social media so that we can say hi.
Okay, love you, bye.
Okay, love you, bye.
This podcast is hosted by RPP.
If you are easily spooked, creeped, or offended, this might not be the podcast for you.
Hello, everybody.
Hello.
Hello, Lana.
Hello, Gemma.
Welcome to I Think My Fridge is Haunted.
Welcome. I hear a mysterious third voice.
Oh, yes. I'm like, who is that?
Like who? What?
Everybody, you may remember Rebecca from Rebecca Wood Hair Education. She came on the podcast when we talked about Heaven's Gate and also the Glee Curse. She's back.
I'm
back again.
Yes.
I'm back. Tell your friends.
Yeah, exactly.
Hide your husband.
Thank you so much for coming on.
My phone's just started going off like now.
That's okay.
Do you need to get that?
No, I don't.
Phones on silent, please.
Yes,
Phones
on
on silent.
Yeah, so I'm back. I'm excited. Thank you for having me.
Good. We're excited to get your opinion on today's case.
Yes.
Well, when you said to me what we're going to do, I was like, book me in. I have a lot of stuff to say about this. So
Good.
I'm really excited to do this. And I think I reckon this will be like the premiere, like the highlight of the season.
Oh my
You heard it
God.
here. Okay.
Are you here with us? Oh my God. I think you're right. The story is very exciting just from like the perspectives we're going to have. And it's just really nice to talk about. So not nice. Sounds nice.
Wow.
But you know, it's just good to talk about it because
It's spicy content.
Well, exactly right. And like I'm going to be in a bit of an audience perspective while also helping Gemma talk today and tell the story. Because I don't know a lot about it. But before we get to the story, we're getting very elusive about the story. Hi, how is everyone? How are we feeling?
Doing great. I've got my coffee. How are you, Beck?
I'm good now. I've eaten.
Yep.
I'm great. I'm just pumped. I'm like so excited.
I know, we're already like, well, we can start right now.
Let's just start. Oh my God.
Well,
What have you got?
We've got a fun fact. A fact
from the freezer.
Facts from the freezer.
Facts from the freezer.
Okay, shall I go first?
Go for it.
Okay, I thought this was quite cool and I want to explore it more. But did you know that the film Jaws caused neurosis in a viewer? After trouble sleeping and anxiety, she began screaming, "Shark, shark," and had convulsions. A study found that Jaws is unusually effective among films in causing stress. Whether it's suspense, the gore, the music, it's unclear. And I believe
It ticks all the boxes of stress.
It absolutely does. And I believe there was another one.
I'm surprised there's only been one person that's
Yeah,
suffered
I know.
Like, are you sure?
I'm pretty sure a lot of us did, but there was mention of The Exorcist doing the same thing to audiences,
Right.
causing people to have lapse in mental health because of certain, I don't know, the whole movie. The whole movie.
Yeah.
I found that really interesting. I suppose like what 70s-esque the time watching it in a theatre with everyone, of course you would have had an emotional response.
It's a classic age of horror. So, you know, if Jaws isn't going to get you, The Exorcist is, or The Omen.
Yeah.
Yeah. Or the
One or
Amityville
the
Horror.
other. Yeah, that's it.
Get out. That's the Amityville, isn't it? With the flies on his face? Yeah. Because I haven't seen Jaws.
I haven't
or Exorcist.
seen the movie for
I would die.
a really, really long time, but I recently read the book.
It's not for me.
Okay, Gemma.
Okay, so in March 2023, it was reported by the ABC that police have revealed details of a covert international operation that stopped 2.4 tons of cocaine worth $1 billion from reaching Western Australia in what is believed to be the nation's biggest ever drug bust. So what they did was the US Drug Enforcement Administration intercepted 2.4 tons of cocaine that was, you know how they put them into like bricks?
A lot of nose beers.
Nose beers.
That's a good weekend. No. Excuse me. Sorry.
So, you know, they're made into like bricks and they're like wrapped up in plastic. And
Like on the movies.
Yes,
exactly
very
like in the
isn't it?
movies. So WA police substituted the cargo for fake cocaine. So
I think it's so cool.
they dropped off a bunch of like fake, like a massive fake brick in plastic of cocaine.
The faux coke.
They planted it in the ocean and then they just basically sat back and waited and like monitored with drones and things like that and waited to see who was going to come and pick it up.
That's so genius. I love it. I
Yeah.
love it.
So it is alleged that the syndicate used 2 boats, the Catalina and the Cool Runnings, to make several attempts to find and retrieve the cargo. And on December 30th, Tactical Response Group officers arrested 3 men on board the Cool Runnings with approximately 1.2 tons of the fake cocaine after the boat have washed up on the beach near the Moore River. Now, I don't know why, but for some reason, the Cool Runnings, the boat sank.
Oh, no.
Yeah, so they picked up the fake drugs and then the boat sank and then they got arrested that day.
That's a bad day.
So in total, they arrested 12 people from WA, New South Wales, Northern Territory, and the United States.
Wow.
And that was the
But
biggest,
it's fake.
the biggest drug bust. Well,
But it's fake.
but I
Is
think
it?
they were expecting that same amount to come in.
So they were like substituting it so they could catch
That
them.
is a good
I
point,
get
though.
what you're saying, but also, like, it'd be like if you got, say if you got busted with fake weed.
Yeah.
Is it really a drug bust?
Well, yes. Does it count? That is a very good
I'll
point.
have to look that up because I want to know
That's a
because
technicality.
Oh my God.
they must have had someone on the inside
Yeah.
that knew that this specific amount was going to be dropped off.
Yeah. 'Cause
So
it's
where's
how
the
do
real
they know?
coke?
Right.
Where's the real coke? I wonder if they ever
That's what I'm
found it.
saying. Or did they just
Oh.
go out and do it for fun to see what would happen? This is what I'm more concerned about. And why would they?
Sorry, I thought that they had captured the coke, like they had the cocaine
Well, I thought
and then
so
they were.
too. But then I'm like, did they?
'Cause
Wait
that's
a
what it
second.
sounded like to me.
Maybe they did, and they're like, okay, well, we know who's dropped it off, but we don't know who's picking it up.
Yep, exactly.
So let's put the fake coke out there, the faux.
The faux coke.
But it says
Phono.
here the US Drug Enforcement Administration intercepted 2.4 tons
yeah,
so they
of
had it.
cocaine. So
Find
they
it.
got the coke,
Right.
stole it, then put the fake coke in its place.
yeah,
You
to
watch the
capture.
price of bags go up after this.
Yeah, watch this.
Right.
Watch this. There you go. Very clever. I like that. That's the way they went with it.
Yeah. It's so simple.
So simple. The old switcheroo.
Yeah, the old switcheroo. Weren't you going to say something scandalous to us before?
Oh,
It was
that's right.
before we were talking about Ozempic face.
my
We were
Ozempic
talking
is
about something else.
Pop culture fact from the freezer.
Go for it.
The pop culture corner
It's
with
just-
Rebecca.
Thank you. It's just something I came across. I think I made a joke about something before. Or we were talking about Cowboy Carter or something. No, it was even before that. Anyway, where I'm going with this is a couple of weeks ago, in between clients, I was just doing the doom scroll and it's come up. Did you post it? That Diddy's compound had been raided by the NSA? Homeland Security. Homeland Security.
Everyone was posting
Right,
that.
and then I was like, oh, what's that about? I better Google it because
It
don't trust
probably
anything on
was me.
Instagram. So then I went to Google and it said he's left in a private jet because his compound's been raided by Homeland Security in relation to sex trafficking charges.
Right.
And I was like, oh, this is a lot. Moving on, just didn't give it much more thought with him, obviously. And then now I'm starting to see these people pop up on the reels, on the Facebook, and then some of them are random, some aren't, about allegations of Jay-Z and Diddy having parties together. Not Kanye, yeah. Jay-Z and Diddy having parties together back in the day with Aaliyah. underage.
No.
There's photos.
She spoke out about it, didn't she? Like,
I think
everyone
she
except her
died
did.
before she had the opportunity to speak out about it. But
And
she
then
was married to R.
Kelly.
Kelly.
That's
which is
right.
a whole
Whole
other
other
rabbit hole
thing.
to go down. So then I was like, oh, that's wild. Now I've seen there are more and more people coming forward saying Jay-Z had a mistress when he started dating Beyonce who was pregnant and she died.
okay.
And nobody's talking about that, but there's a lot of people bringing that up, like a lot of people within the industry. And now the other day I got caught up on a reel when this woman was talking about the same thing. But then she mentioned another lady, I can't remember her name now. She wrote a book called Bling, where apparently she calls out a lot of this behaviour. She also died.
Oh,
Do you mean died accidentally?
Yeah, accidentally died.
Or did she die like she's still alive?
No, accidentally died.
Yeah.
So I think
Right.
there's a lot there that might be going to come out within the music world.
yeah.
That's wild.
Wild.
Do you think it might go back to Michael Jackson as well?
It's all going to be connected.
you think?
It's all connected. No, I just feel like when you have that much money, like Jay-Z and Beyonce have, you can make
Do the
anything
fuck you
happen.
want, right?
You can make anything happen,
Absolutely,
but I'm
that's what
glad
they're
it's
saying.
being brought out. Like, I love
Right?
Beyonce. I love Beyonce like any other person, but they are very fucking rich. And
Yeah.
it's like, you're the first to be eaten. I'm so sorry.
Yeah.
I'll
Yeah.
keep all your albums, but I'm going to eat you first.
Yeah. I just
Sorry.
want her wigs.
I know.
And
I
maybe some
know.
stilettos.
Damn you, Beyonce. Well,
Yeah.
that is fascinating. We'll have to keep an eye
you go.
out.
That's wild.
Wild. So if I see anything
This
else,
just in.
I'll make note.
Yeah, please.
Yeah, can you tag me in some
Yeah, I
any
will.
more
I
that
totally
you
will.
say?
Yeah, I will. Absolutely.
I love a
There's
good...
always been a weird conspiracy thing with Jay-Z. Specifically, I know
I
it's
did not
Jay-Z and
know
Beyonce,
that.
but yeah, they think Jay-Z and Beyonce are in the Illuminati.
Right. Yes.
Illuminati mess.
Yes.
Yes. They think that they're like the head of the Illuminati.
The
and
lizard people.
The lizard people.
On that, sorry. Just while I was driving this morning, there was talk on, I think, are you allowed to name radio stations?
I think so.
I was
Yeah.
just on Fox this morning with Fifi, Fev and Nick. Anyway, blah, 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 driving along.
us.
And, right? And I think one of their producers or something was saying that, do you know what? I think it was their station, yeah. That they believe the lizard people are here. There's 3 types of species of aliens already living among us.
Who believes this?
Do you know what? It might have been the producer of those other terrible people we were talking
Oh,
about.
yes. Yeah.
The new ones in Melbourne. Yeah, but anyway, either way, there's people that already think there are species of alien living with us, lizard people, they're all here in Australia.
But how do they feel about the fact that we're probably aliens, that we came on the meteorite that killed all the dinosaurs?
Yeah, look, who are the real intruders?
I was just thinking, I was like, oh, we didn't say the story name or anything, and I realized that your book was sitting right there the whole time.
We weren't meant to say it yet.
No, we weren't meant to say it yet. Exactly.
it's fine.
It's going to be on the title on iTunes.
Oh
and
my God, you
YouTube and
already
everything.
know.
So as you already know, we are going to be talking about the infamous case of Schapelle Corby. And Beck, you've got the book right here.
Got the book in case we need to reference it quickly.
Hold it up.
Yeah, so which
Oh,
book
yeah,
If you
sorry.
want to read this book, it's Schapelle Corby. It was written by Schapelle with another author.
Catherine Bonella.
Catherine Bonella.
Yeah.
Who's written actually several books
She
about
has.
Bali.
Snowing in Bali.
Yes.
Hotel Karaba Khan.
That would be
Operation
interesting.
Playboy.
Yeah.
Wow.
Shall we get started?
Well, I was
Absolutely.
going to say, just for like a little context, I think I mentioned at the start, I was in like grade 4 or 5 when this all happened. So my view of Schapelle Corby is through media. Was now having the story was very wonderfully written story. Gemma, thank you. Everyone's in for a treat today. So it's going to be really interesting to hear everyone's perspectives, and I'm really excited to hear your perspectives, having actually seen what was going on, because all I have is parents going, yeah, she probably did it. Like that's all I've got. So I'm very excited for this, Gemma.
I think a lot of parents said that. Yeah. I'm pretty sure my parents said that too.
I've been surveying a lot of people for a couple of weeks about this, actually.
Really?
Yeah.
Interested to hear your findings. I'm very interested to hear your findings. So my sources today, I also read the same book, My Story by Schapelle Corby and Catherine Bonella. I also looked at the Canigma website, Canigma, because it's all about cannabis, .com, and Wikipedia. But mostly I just used the book.
Cool.
So let's talk about Schapelle's early life. Schapelle Corby was born 10th of July 1977 and lived on the Gold Coast in the suburb of Chugun.
Can I ask you a question?
Chugun.
What year were you born?
81.
Okay, so you and I aren't that much younger than her. Like, we're kind of in the same thing here.
She's like a young Gen Xer and we're like elder millennials.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Yeah. So she lived at Chugun, which I had to look up the pronunciation for. Apparently they call it Chugs. Chugs.
You're good, because I wasn't sure how to pronounce that when I was reading the book.
Chugs with a Z at the end. Chugun. In Queensland. Her parents were Michael Corby and Rosalie Rose. They divorced in 1979, and Schapelle is the third of 6 children and is part of a blended family, as her mum had, I think, one partner after that. So Schapelle had 3 half-siblings. Yep. Even though her parents divorced, it would appear that they remained on friendly terms. Schapelle would visit her dad frequently and they had a great relationship. In the book, she talks about how he works in the mining industry and he had a big piece of land up in rural Queensland.
It was, yeah.
But her best friend was her big sister, Mercedes, who she called Merc. The 2 sisters were very different. Merc with her blonde hair and Schapelle being a brunette, Schapelle being neat and tidy, and Merc described by Schapelle as the messiest person I've ever met.
I think that makes 2 sisters, doesn't it? There's
It
always
really
one.
does.
Yeah.
So Schapelle goes to school until year 11 and went to beauty school at TAFE. So for our international listeners, TAFE is like trade college here. I'm pretty sure maybe we all went to beauty school. I know I did.
I did.
Did you go to hair school? Yes. At TAFE.
At TAFE, that's right. She worked in her family's fish and chip shop as well as the local supermarket. Schapelle met a Japanese traveller who has the fake name in the media of Kimi Tanaka. Is that correct?
Yeah.
Why is it a fake name?
So I think he probably just wanted nothing to do with
Did
this
she
situation.
say it was a fake name?
Yeah, she says in her book
I must
that
have
it's
missed
the
that bit.
name that she gave him and it's
Right.
acknowledged in the media that it's a fake name.
Right, okay.
Yep.
Thank you.
He was on a working holiday in Australia and Schapelle went back to Japan with him and lived there for 3 years. They married in June 1998 in Japan. However, it was a toxic marriage marred with jealousy and emotional abuse. Tabloids would later claim the marriage had only lasted 3 months. Schapelle was sorry to see the end of the marriage and she had believed she was marrying forever.
I feel like she really did. Actually, I think they were young and in love and thought it could all work, and it just wasn't.
Yeah, and it was
all
that
made
classic thing where after they got married, he kind of changed,
Oh,
wasn't
yeah,
it?
he did. That's right. Yeah, he went a bit weird. They tend to do that.
However, she came back to Australia in July 2000 and in 2003 they were officially divorced. After that, she dropped out of TAFE and cared for her dad, who had been diagnosed with cancer and was expected to live between 6 months and a few more years.
Yeah, so in the book, that one doctor said you've got 6 months, it's spread to your bones, and then another doctor says you could make it for a few more years.
And she speaks really highly of her dad.
She really does.
She really, I don't know if you're going to bring this up or not, but do you talk about the rumours that... Okay, I'll wait then.
Yeah.
Okay, great.
She has a good relationship with her dad, and I feel like her mum has a good relationship with her dad, even though they're divorced.
Yeah, like they're quite still a amicable family unit.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yes.
So Schapelle had been to Bali 5 times since the age of 16, including during stopovers to and from Japan. She loved boogie boarding and came from a surfing family. For Merck's 30th birthday celebrations in October 2004, a group of 16 family and friends flew to Bali, where Merck was living along with her Balinese husband, Wayan. So Merck and Wayan were planning to come back to Australia to live after Christmas because they had 2 young children and they wanted their son to start school in Australia.
That's right.
In the meantime, everyone could celebrate Merck's birthday in Indonesia together.
Schapelle stocked the fridge for her dad with enough food to last 2 weeks and planned to travel to Bali with their mum, Rosalie, brother James, along with their friends Ali and Katrina.
I got the impression that like there's 16 of them going, but they're sort of flying there in sort of
segmented.
in little groups.
Yeah.
They had not been able to get a direct flight to Bali, which was frustrating to Schapelle, instead having to fly Brisbane to Sydney and paying $300 more to get a connecting flight from there. They had checked in their luggage and Schapelle was told to check in her boogie board bag to the oversized counter. They flew to Bali in the holiday spirit, drinking a couple of celebratory beers and laughing.
Yeah, she talks about just how like they're just in a great mood. They're going over there for this birthday. They're really, really having a wonderful time.
As you are at the airport. The airport's a lawless place. Like, let's face it, we are
Cowboy
drinking
land.
as soon as we get there. There
Yes.
are no rules at the airport.
It's the
Yeah.
only way to tolerate it.
It's the greatest.
Yeah.
I love being at the airport.
So let's talk about the notorious incident
Oh,
at the airport.
So, for just like a little, being a teeny tiny human and watching this happen, it just seemed like chaos. It was so interesting reading through this. I was like, it was so fast.
it still feels like chaos when you read it.
Yeah,
It's
it
chaotic.
does.
It was
read.
chaos.
Chaotic to read.
Absolutely chaos. And suddenly this whole woman's life changed. I don't care whether you think she did it or not. You have to be empathetic to the fact that within minutes, her whole life was different. Yeah.
Yeah.
This is actually, I'm not going to lie, Schapelle was the reason why I never went overseas for a long time.
Actually, it was a huge
My
reason
number
why.
one fear in life was
Yeah.
that this would happen to me. Number one fear.
I remember flying to Thailand for the first time years and years ago and them saying, just to remind you, the importation of drugs is punishable by the death penalty, and me just going, holy cow.
Yeah, it's wild.
What if something put someone in my bag? And, you know, Schapelle had already happened. And I didn't go to Bali for the first time for years. Years.
Oh, I don't want to go anywhere. But then, just now when I came back from Bali, I've actually got video of it. My driver was there. My zip had broken on my bag. So my driver was just like cable tying it and like melting it with the lighter for me to get in the plane. I'm just like, I don't
Wow.
care now. Like, I used to not go, and now I just go with my bag open. Like,
Yeah.
I know, it's wild.
That's
Keep going.
very smart of him, though, actually.
Oh,
That's really
He's
clever.
very resourceful.
Once you get a good driver in Bali, you keep a good driver.
That's it. Like, I've spoken to you, Gemma. I haven't been to Bali. I've been to Fiji.
I'll give you Ekka's business
yeah,
card.
yeah, I need it. But
Don't take your boogie board bag.
well, I was going to say, as soon as I finished this, I went, oh, well, I'm never going to Bali. Like, okay.
Yeah.
Like, it couldn't happen
Yeah.
anywhere, but it's just, wild. So,
Yeah, for sure.
the incident.
Yes, yes. So landing at Nuarai Airport around 3:30 p.m., Schapelle collected her suitcase from the baggage carousel. And I can't remember if I've mentioned it, but it's October 7, 2004 at
Yeah.
this
Okay.
point.
Yeah.
She collected her suitcase from the baggage carousel but was not able to see her boogie board bag. She looked around and saw it lying on the ground a few meters from the carousel.
Yes.
Which
Sus.
normally, no, I don't think it would be. I reckon you'd be like, oh, someone's picked it up and gone, oh, this isn't mine. I thought it was mine. And they just put it down.
I'd put
Which
it back
is
on the
lazy because you
carousel.
put it back on the carousel.
Yeah, I'd be like, oh, and as you continue on.
I mean, you'd probably pick it up and be pissed off.
oh, yeah.
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 But, you know,
But I
like,
wouldn't think, oh God, someone's put drugs
something
in my bag.
terrible's happened.
Until
Right.
this next
I was
bit,
about
though.
to say, until you
Until
hear
the next
this.
bit.
She noticed that the handle on her boogie board bag had been cut. So she grabbed it by the shoulder strap and dragged it along with her carry-on bag and her suitcase, struggling to manage them all. And in the book she says, oh, that's mean. Someone's cut my
Yeah.
bag handle.
Yeah.
But she picked it up anyway.
I-
So she's dragging her carry-on bag, her suitcase, and the boogie board bag. So her friend Ali tells James to help his sister. So he took over dragging the boogie board bag, which also contained her flippers, to the customs counter. So Ali and Katrina went through the customs counter with no issue, and they're over at the other side. James had to declare some cans of tuna because he was into weightlifting and he needed to take his protein supply with him.
Protein.
So he goes to the customs counter and he opens up his suitcase and they're like, wow, there's a stack of tuna cans in here. This guy's got nothing to hide.
Yeah.
He opened his suitcase and showed the officer, who closed the suitcase and asked if the boogie board was his. And Schapelle picked it up and said, no, it's mine. And she put it on the desk or on the counter, and she went to open it up for them. She thought it was strange that the two zips were meeting in the middle of the zipper, as she always zipped them to the side. But she didn't think that much about it. As she opens the bag, she says, whoa. There was an extra item in her bag she had not put there. She shuts the bag quickly. A smirking man in uniform appears next to her and says, recognizing what's in the bag. The customs officer points to the bag and says to James, you carry this to the office.
See, this is where I already think it's weird.
This whole part is weird.
Okay, so I've had a lot of people in my little survey over the last few weeks saying, oh my God, I'm going to do the Schapelle podcast. I have actually, the most common response I have had from people, it was her brothers.
It's a
Which
popular
was because I
belief.
had never heard that.
It is a popular belief.
Yeah.
I don't understand when she picked it up off the ground, and you'll talk about this in a sec, the weight. I didn't like, I read the story first and then I went and watched some videos because I was like, there's a bag within the boogie board bag. Yeah. It's the size of the boogie board. It's massive.
Well,
how did she not pick it up and go, that weight's different? I immediately would have been like, no,
Because
that weight's different.
you'll find out that was actually all those photos that they show of that had been cut open. So it was actually cryovac. It was a lot smaller than that photo, and she does say that later on. Yeah,
Okay, yeah, sorry. That's what me was going like, how
as
would
if you would
not?
notice it. Yeah,
And I'm most definitely not the first person who has thought that.
I think that was what a lot of people said.
absolutely.
Yeah.
How
but,
could you not know?
Yeah,
But as you...
yeah.
Right.
We're getting ahead of ourselves.
Sorry.
So Schapelle didn't want her brother, only 16 at the time, to have anything to do with this. She says it's her bag and she will carry it. It even has her name on it. But they insisted, quote, he carry it, not you. And James picks up the bag and follows them to the customs office. Very weird.
So why do you think that they were so insistent then on him and it his being his bag and he
They probably
carries it?
thought she was covering for him, surely.
Well, I mean, going forward, I think Schapelle is innocent.
Same. I've never thought she did it.
And I do believe that the Indonesian police wanted to make an example out of a tourist.
Yep.
That
Same.
was to make it either
Yeah.
look like they were bringing drugs
Yeah.
in or they did bring drugs
Yeah.
in. And I think in their mind they wanted it to be a man.
Oh,
Right.
You know, we're all never going to Bali again after this podcast.
I don't know if
we're
I
on the banned list now.
I love Bali.
They might not love you after this.
True. They might put me on the ban list.
You might wear a top that says Free Schapelle or something.
Well, I think, yeah, maybe they had a bit of a narrative in their head and they thought maybe this is the perfect opportunity. But again, from an outside perspective, her going, no, it's mine, although she wouldn't open, anyway, I feel like they would maybe saw it as her protecting her young teenage brother, who is probably more likely to be linked to having marijuana,
Right.
if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's what I mean.
Yeah.
I agree.
Sus.
I concur.
It is weird. Now, Beck, when you were reading the book, did you get confused in the airport chapter?
In which part?
Well, she talks about at Brisbane, she goes to the airport with her mum, Ali, Katrina, and James, and they all take a photo at the airport.
Yes.
And she says, little did I know that this was the last time I would
be
take
happy
a happy
to have
photo.
Yeah.
She never mentions her mum during the trip.
I didn't give it any thought, but also, was her mum on the same flight?
Well, that's what
Or did her mum just take the photo and off they went and she was on a different flight? Like you said before, were they segmented?
This is what I'm trying to figure out.
Or did
I really get the impression that all of them flew together, but she doesn't mention her mum at all. Or maybe her mum just dropped them off and maybe she was going to fly there later, or maybe she wasn't going to the birthday party. It's not clear.
Yeah, well, that's a point actually when I was reading it through. Rosalie's, it's Rosalie, isn't it?
Rosalie, yeah.
Rosalie. Her name comes up later and I went, wait, who's that again?
Right.
And I went, oh, it's her mum. All right. Because, it mentions Ali, Katrina, James, but no mum. So
Yes.
I don't know.
I understood that the 5 of them were travelling together.
Yeah, interesting.
So at this point, I'm presuming that Ali and Katrina have gone out to the transfer area, like to get their bus or their taxi or whatever. And I also think this is weird because when you're all going through customs together, if you're traveling in a group,
You should wait.
you wait on the other side and you wait and you stick together.
Leave no man behind.
Yeah,
Leave no man behind.
Yeah.
So that I also kind of think is weird because they do customs
wait
and they
here.
just wander off.
Well, no, I'm thinking about it too hard now. Now I'm like,
It's easy to think about this story too hard. And this story that I've written for today is a condensed version.
Yep.
There's a bunch of stuff that I could have deep dived into.
yeah.
We could have made it 3 parts, but we're just doing it in one
Oh,
episode.
well, who knows? Maybe we'll do this and then we'll be like, revisit
Maybe
it.
we'll do like, I think my fridge is haunted. Chappelle season.
Chappelle season.
Season.
You coming back?
I better be. I'm in, babe. I'm invested.
By the end, like our hair's all up here and we've got
Yeah.
red tape on the wall and we're like, right,
Yeah.
okay, listen.
We bought boogie board bags.
I wouldn't
Comparing.
mind asking her to come on, but I don't think she's got time for it. I don't think she's a big people person, if I'm honest.
I feel like after
I think
this,
she's done.
I think
No.
she's cooked, mate. The poor love.
Yeah, I think so too.
Right.
Poor darling.
Poor
I'd
thing.
live in peace for the rest of your life.
So Chappelle notes at this point that there's no one forcing her to stay in the customs office. And she says, I could easily go outside to Ali and Katrina, get on our hotel pickup bus and leave. I didn't even think about it. They had my little brother, and whatever was in that bag, whatever was going on, had nothing to do with James or me. I figured I'd just have to go into that room, make it clear to the officers that the dope wasn't ours, and then James, Ali, Katrina and I could leave in the hotel bus together. So they really seem hell-bent on her brother being the perpetrator.
Yeah, it seems like,
Yeah.
doesn't it?
Like, it would have been
This is what I'm
interesting to
saying.
see
Did she
if she had just walked out with her friends.
Did she accidentally screw up their plan?
Their plan.
Yeah.
Yeah. And all this time, Schapelle Corby could be not the big name that everybody remembers, but I believe his name's Katina, I think. Kanita or Katina, I think his surname is because they're half brothers, half
yeah.
siblings.
Yeah.
Like his name could be the
Yeah,
big
yeah,
name
true.
that everyone
The name.
remembers.
Isn't it so funny? I think I've mentioned before, I love situations where you're like, what if just that much changed?
Yeah.
It's a
what would be
sliding
Sliding
door
doors.
moment.
Yeah.
Yes.
And going into conspiracy territory here,
yeah.
maybe they thought, let's frame a man, because if we frame a woman, people will feel really sorry for them.
They'll
and
empathise.
no one and they'll empathize, and maybe no one will believe them. But if we have a man, they'll just accept it, and we'll make a example out of him.
Yeah.
Maybe that's what they thought. And then kind of the reverse almost happened is like Chappelle got so much slander. It's like so much more. And I feel like as a woman, it was 10 times worse.
True.
Yes. So they probably weren't thinking that's the way it was going to go, but that's what happened.
So this next part is not that clear in the book either. Chappelle says that through a window, she could see Katrina outside in the sun, sitting on her suitcase waiting for them. So I'm kind of guessing that she's in the customs office, but she does kind of have free rein to walk and wander. What window is she conveniently seeing her friend out of?
Yeah, because there's always that like waiting bay area outside of an airport, and I don't know the Bali airport, of course, but like I've traveled with people who are like, it was a 6-hour flight and need a cigarette immediately. And you go out to that like waiting area there. I'm thinking about the Melbourne airport. I'm like, it is quite, there is little offices and stuff. They're not usually near the front windows, but I suppose it's possible. But Bali.
And I think Denpasar Airport has been refurbished since 20 years ago. And
100%.
You certainly...
It was refurbished since since the Rona.
Oh, really?
When I went just before you recently, I thought to myself, oh, this is all brand new. That whole walk down the terminal, and there's all those shops down there. It's gorgeous.
It's nice.
There's like lanterns. It's like it's fantastic.
I've never been before that.
Oh, okay.
What was it like before?
The last time I was there was 2019. It wasn't like that. It was like a cheap airport.
Okay.
Now it's like fancy.
It's fancy.
It's fancy.
So Schapelle says, then I found Ali. So she can see Katrina outside, but Ali's still wandering around, I suppose. And she fills in Ali on what's happening. So this is what I want to know. Was Schapelle just wandering around the airport while all this is happening? It's very... I don't feel that the chapter explains why she was just sort of wandering around. I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know. But maybe it's confusing for her. Maybe she just doesn't remember a lot because it was so...
Yeah.
The pressure was really high. So James and Schapelle's suitcases had been left at the customs counter, so Ali took them with her. What the hell?
Right. So that's
Who's letting
really
that?
bizarre because wouldn't you be hanging on to everything?
Well, not even that. Customs didn't even check Schapelle's suitcase.
Yeah.
They just let her friend
This is
walk
what I'm
out
saying.
with it.
They knew exactly what to find and exactly who to speak to about it.
Exactly.
Isn't that interesting?
Out of all the bags of all the people,
No one stopped her from taking it outside. No one checked it because they didn't care.
No, because
They
they
found
already
what they
had
found.
what they had. Yeah.
Exactly. So Schapelle goes back into the office and says her boogie board is laying on the table with a giant bag of marijuana on top of it. It is a clear bag as big as a pillow. So I imagine this is they've cut it
Yes,
open.
yeah,
The
yeah,
vacuum seal's
for
been
sure.
released, and it is about the size of the boogie board. It's insane. There is a bag within the bag containing the marijuana. Officers from all over the airport are coming in and pointing and laughing, making animated phone calls, and some even took handfuls of marijuana to put into small plastic bags. It makes me so mad.
Right.
Crazy.
There doesn't seem to be any kind of process or order being followed. Ridiculous.
It's wild to me that they can detain these travellers and help
penalty.
themselves.
Yeah. I'll take some of that.
Do you reckon they'll make a Netflix out of this?
Well, they already made one telemovie called Ganja Queen.
No, but I mean, like, you know how there's that one, it's the young couple, and I haven't watched it yet, and they got arrested and they went through the whole process, but it turns out then they didn't do it. It was like an American Nightmare or something.
Yeah, something like that.
American Nightmare was the one where the guy, they wake up in the middle of the night and his girlfriend gets kidnapped by like ninjas.
I haven't watched it, but that sounds fucking wild.
It's crazy.
No, I'm just thinking, I mean, like was Ganja Queen in her eyes, like in her, like a proper...
No, I think Ganja
almost
Queen...
doco situation.
I've never seen anything like that. I don't think
Right.
Ganja Queen was on her side.
That's what I'm saying. Do you think this will be the next thing they make to say...
I don't
look
think
what
she wants
happened?
anything to do with the media.
Yeah, I was gonna say.
Honestly, I don't. I think she just wants to have a quiet life.
Yeah, it'd be up to her to decide whether they make it. I'm sure she's gotten $1 million offers.
Oh.
Millions and hundreds of thousands
It's a
of dollars.
classic Australian story.
Yeah, it'd make
and
it
everyone's
amazing.
20 years since it happened. We're still obsessed with it.
Absolutely.
She's an Australian kind of like icon, which is really
It's just up there with Kylie Minogue.
I know.
And Ned Kelly.
And Ned Kelly. So James was sitting on a chair. Schapelle's standing by the door, and they were just shocked. So this is them watching these officers just fistful of marijuana, and off they went.
And laughing and
Joking and I can't, like, how insulting it would have been, especially what she goes through. So people come in and take photos of Schapelle, and she yells at them to leave. A man asks her, "Is this yours?" And she says no. He asks, "What is it?" And she replies that she doesn't know. Instead, she says the boogie board and the bag is hers, but the clear bag is not hers. In court, he later says that she told him the bag was hers. The court believed him. They take no fingerprints, and the officer says too many people touch. So too many people have touched it. Too much contamination has happened. It's almost like they know that that's the case.
Yeah.
Yep. Exactly.
It's ridiculous, isn't it?
So James is made to put the bag on the scales, and it weighs 4.2 kilograms. It's something like 9 pounds.
Ridiculous. And that's just the marijuana. Or is that the boogie board?
No, I
No,
think
that
that's
is
just
just
the
the
weight.
marijuana.
That is just the marijuana. Crazy that this could have all been solved with just, like, weighing the bag before she left. Like, which we all do now.
Right.
And I imagine this is part of the reason why. But no fingerprints. Like, are you joking? It's, ridiculous.
So Katrina calls Merck and tells her what's happened. So Merck is freaking out. She jumps on a scooter and drives to the main customs office where Ali, Katrina, Schapelle and James had been driven to. Now, the next sort of couple of few days, I'm condensing all down. A lot of stuff happens, but I'm just condensing it down. So they were driven to the main customs office. The bag of marijuana has been pulled apart on the floor with bits lying everywhere. There was even a bowl of marijuana on the office table, and the officers are just kind of looking around like, what are you going to do about it?
And I think this is when I think a lot of this footage went straight out to the press, because you've got the stuff all over the floor, like everyone's crying, Merck's yelling at the officers. It's really crazy footage, and I think this is this part now.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. The story of an Australian girl getting caught with drugs in Indonesia had started to leak to the media, and in a day it was in the Australian press.
So according to canigma.com, is that correct?
Yeah.
In Bali, marijuana is highly illegal. The possession, sale and consumption of marijuana in Bali is punishable with 10 years in prison. Those caught trafficking weed in Bali can receive the death penalty. Weed laws in Bali are strictly enforced. Which is just
It's kind of wild, isn't it? Really?
stupid. Like, of all the drugs.
I know. I know.
And all the stuff you can do in Bali, I imagine. Like,
Bomb
really?
nightclubs.
Yep.
I've never clubbed in Bali. Is it
I
wild?
said like when you bomb nightclubs.
Oh, yeah,
Oh,
yeah, yeah.
right.
I thought you were like, nightclubs. I was like, yes,
I've never
nightclubs.
been
No,
to a
Bond
nightclub in
nightclubs.
Bali. I think I'd be too
Yes.
scared.
Yeah, no. I can barely club here in Melbourne, let alone.
Also, I'm 43 now. We don't club.
We
actually,
craft club.
Funny that you
we
say
nap.
that, because in October I'm going to a thing called Disco Club, and it's this thing run by these two women that podcast that's our age, and she's created this nightclub. It happens like every few months, and it goes from like Sydney, Melbourne, Brisbane. Disco Club, it's basically for like mums who can't afford the time to go out clubbing all night and being hungover for the next day. So it goes from 6 till 10.
I love this.
Do you know what? It's basically like going to stylists, underage stylists in
Right.
96, when you're not old enough to go to the club and
Yeah.
dad picked you up at 10.
Yeah.
Blue light disco.
We've come full circle now. Now we're clubbing to 10 again, listening to the exact same music that we listened to at underage stylists, and it's amazing.
Is it like R&B night?
I believe so.
That's awesome. I love that.
Okay.
Yeah, we're going in October.
If I'm not in London,
oh yeah,
I'm coming to the club.
I tell you what though, $80 a ticket.
Damn.
Is that bad?
Is there snacks?
Do you get free drinks?
Yeah. Look at us.
You
like,
get a free drink.
Isn't it like if you get there before the door opens, you get the stamp and the 2 free drinks?
yeah, that's
What's
usually
happening
the
here?
case.
Yeah, ladies.
used to be back in
ladies
the day.
free before 10.
The last club I went to, it cost $24 just to get in the door.
24. That's a very specific
Very
amount.
specific. I was very upset. And it's also the club, I'm going to shade them right now, that it's where, oh my God, AC/DC Lane, where Cherry Bar used to be. And it sucks ass. Cherry Bar was awesome. And I thought they had to move because of all the... Anyway, sorry, I'm getting real raspy.
So did it just relocate or did it shut down, Cherry Bar?
It's where
relocated.
Pony used to be now.
Ride it. My pony. All right, I'm back.
We clearly don't go clubbing very much. Anyway.
Okay. So Schapelle is strip searched in an extremely dirty toilet before papers written in Indonesian are being thrown at her along with the words sign, sign. Schapelle wasn't signing anything. And they never found out what was written on those papers.
Seriously?
Yeah, the lawyers couldn't find out what the papers were. So I'm guessing that they tried to get her to sign a confession. Exactly.
Gross.
The officers told them when they asked for, we want a lawyer from Australia. They said, no lawyer, tomorrow. And Merck is hysterical and she gets to work trying to find legal representation.
And I feel like in 2004, like if this happened now, you'd have an Australian lawyer there within 3 minutes. I feel like now...
I would hope so.
Video
Right.
calling in.
Yeah.
At minimum.
I feel like now... I feel like back then, we weren't as savvy. There wasn't the technology. There wasn't the networking. There wasn't... You know what I mean?
Yeah.
If you had a mobile
I
phone,
think
it
we
was
still
just for
had
texting.
A Motorola flip phone in
Right, yeah.
2004, a hot
Yeah.
pink one, you know? Yeah.
Oh my God,
The
hot
Nokia
girl phone.
2510.
Yeah, the
Hot girl phone.
4210
Right.
Nokia.
Yeah. No FaceTime with the legal team.
No.
So Schapelle is allowed to take a few small essentials from her suitcase. So she takes like a little bit of makeup and a toothbrush. And she's taken to a police station. And then she's taken to a holding facility called Polder. So she's kept for weeks there. And this is the moment
Horrendous.
we sort of, everything about her brother sort of drops off.
Yeah.
She doesn't really mention
Right.
James again. So it looks to me like they do start to focus in on her. I'm not entirely sure what happened to James at this point.
Well, they thought, well, this might be a better story. I don't know.
Yeah, well, the media's already
Let's
got
just
it.
go with this.
The media's
we've got to
already
go
got
with it now.
Yeah.
It's too late.
too
It's too late. Yeah, especially if it's gotten back to Australia.
So she's kept for weeks at Polder, not knowing what would happen to her. She's in a tiny, disgusting cell with filthy graffitied walls and an old dirty carpet, no furniture. She's directly next to a cell holding multiple male prisoners. She finds out that some of the graffiti is painted in human feces. There is a horrifically dirty squat toilet, and I think she gets like a bucket and a scoop with some water to clean with. She heard that the man known as Ambrosi, one of the Bali bombers, had been kept in this cell previously. One night, a kind officer takes her outside and lets her look at the stars. So she'd been there for weeks and weeks and weeks, and some of the officers were super, super mean.
Yeah.
I mean, they literally decided whether you got food or you didn't get food.
I would have died the first night.
It's disgusting.
I'm not joking.
It's ridiculous.
It is that's why I brought up before how old we were, because it's not actually hard to put yourself in that place when you're reading that book. Like, you're like, wow, this woman is like my
She's like
age.
us.
She's like us.
Yeah.
She's just like us. It's not like she was some career criminal or she's, do you know what I mean, come from a bad family or whatever.
Yep.
She
could
literally
be anyone's mate
us.
from school.
Right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then just when you think about that, you just, and it's actually impossible to think of, even when you look at the pictures in the book, and it's still, you really put yourself there and you think, yeah, I would have probably unalived myself, I think, very quickly.
Lost it.
Very
it's
quickly.
definitely a credit to what humans can endure.
Absolutely.
And you don't know until you have to endure.
Was I allowed to say that?
Unalive.
Unalive myself?
You can on the fridge.
Oh, thanks.
Yeah.
Great.
I think that's probably the kosher.
We've said worse.
Yeah. All right. So having no bed, she would sleep in her sarong the entire time. She would never be formally interviewed. I think that's some of the most famous imagery, isn't it? Isn't that like pale blue sarong she's wearing? And I remember that footage. And that is probably the only kind of image I had of her, which credit to how she was being shown.
And she said she was covered in bruises just from sleeping on the floor.
Yeah.
It was horrible. Yeah, it was so uncomfortable.
Because you know yourself at our age, or you just know yourself when you sleep on the wrong pillow.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah.
Made a Nurofen.
Imagine.
Right?
So Lily Lubis, is that the way we say her last name?
She gave me the shit.
Everyone hates Lily.
So we don't care how I pronounce it. No, Lily Lubis is assigned to the case. However, they later find out it is not a consulate approved lawyer. She tells Schapelle that another Australian is here on drug charges. He's been there for 6 weeks.
And this is just a holding cell.
Right?
6 weeks.
Yeah.
It's ridiculous. Schapelle is told that if they lose this case, she could be looking at the death penalty. Her sister and brother Michael come to see her, but they won't let her in. She starts to vomit from the pressure of the situation. The men in the other cell ask if she's okay and get the guards to bring her a drink. A plastic bag half filled with Fanta.
I don't understand that. I read that and then I try to like, do they mean like a plastic bag?
I feel
from the shops?
like a freezer bag, like a sandwich bag.
That's what I mean. Why would you pour Fanta into? I
think it's a common street drink in...
No, I think they've decanted it.
That's what I'm saying.
Put it into
yeah.
a plastic bag.
Isn't there
Give
places
the
where
poor
they...
girl a can.
Yeah, exactly. Isn't that a thing though? The drinks in the plastic bags with the straws out the top. Have you seen those?
Oh,
That's what I'm thinking.
right.
Because a lot of
like a Prima-esque.
yeah,
kind of
I'm thinking
situation.
of
Like a sunny boy.
not fancy, but I'm thinking of like Thailand or Indonesia or something. I could be completely wrong. But that's what I was picturing. But maybe
I think they just put it in a bag. They've just been gross. I mean, disgusting.
Right. That's what I
Gross.
think. Yeah.
And like, if you've been throwing up, you want a nice bottle of water. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Like
refreshing.
freaking-
Evian.
On a flat, you know it was flat.
You
Fanta.
know it was flat.
You know it was flat. Ugh.
Merck tries to get a mattress in for Schapelle, but she isn't allowed. Instead, she is then taken to an even dirtier cell, and she shares it with a Balinese sex worker who keeps stroking her arm and making advances. The woman also gives the guards sexual flavors, which sometimes...
Flavors?
All the flavors.
All the flavors. Yeah, that was gross, that part in the book.
Yeah, basically,
Yeah.
like
No,
Schapelle
don't
wakes
say it,
up
it's
and
gross.
she can hear the noises, and she's like, "Tell me this is not happening."
Yeah, yuck. Yeah. Ew.
Ew.
She says there is no privacy in the cell, and Schapelle is appalled when she sees this happening. She caught a policewoman secretly taking photos of her, and the pictures appear on the newspapers the following day. And there's a part where she says to her lawyer, Lily, "They're taking secret photos of me. They've got hidden cameras," and Lily doesn't believe her.
Lily just cries.
Lily's just this bloody lawyer. She just she crumbles under the pressure, and she just cries all the time.
Why are you a lawyer?
Yeah, and then she believes Schapelle when pictures of her come up in the newspaper the next day.
Oh my God, you were right.
Yes.
Anyway, the Balinese press call her the ganja queen and said she had a large factory to process the drugs. The press began to call her family incessantly. She is allowed to do a secret interview with Liz Hayes from 60 Minutes under the guise of seeing her lawyer. They filmed her with a hidden camera and coughed when a guard was coming down the hall.
I haven't seen this interview. Have you seen this interview?
No, I don't think
I
so.
have a feeling, I don't think it was the one I watched. I think it was with Liz Hayes. But
I'd be like, Liz, thank God you're here.
Right? What
Liz,
are you doing? Like,
help
what's
me.
happening?
Yeah. I would feel comforted knowing that Liz was about.
What's
this is
happening?
Liz, isn't it? Yeah.
No, that's Merck.
That's Merck. Oh, sorry, Merck. There was, I think, yeah, it was Liz Hayes. So she was talking about the interview
Right.
she had with Schapelle, and there is a little bit of
Right.
footage, and it's horrific. Like, it's just sad. It's really sad. And I watched a few interviews, and I've noticed something that Australian journalists do, very particular around this era. And this could just be me picking up, like hyper focusing on this. But the Australian journalists talk like this. They've got an Australian accent, but it's almost like the posh version of Australian. So when Schapelle Corby talks, she sounds like
a bogan.
She sounds like a bogan.
I think it's actually they trained journalists and newsreaders are trained to speak a specific way and undulate a specific way.
A tone. There is a tone.
So when people like us speak,
we sound like
Schapelle.
Yeah, we sound like commoners.
Common folk.
It's like Christina Applegate when she's in, what's that movie with Will Ferrell and he's the newsreader? And she said, I'd spend my time practicing my non-regional accent.
No.
Is that Anchorman?
Anchorman.
It's something I really noticed, like these the tell-all interviews and the cover, they were disgusting. They were filthy disgusting and really embarrassing for Australia to do what they did. Interview-wise. They think they're covering everything and blah, 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 but they're just making it so much worse. And I think that's part of why, young people like me were just hearing adults go like, yeah, of course she did it. Of course she did it.
Right, because the media construed it like she was that. It's bloody un-Australian.
Even this interview where Liz Hayes is talking to Merck, she goes, did you ever think that maybe Schapelle could have done it? Like, there's no part of your heart that reckons? And Merck's like, no, she didn't do it. But they prodded and poked and just didn't leave these poor people alone. And especially Schapelle. Like, it was just, I found it very interesting to hear. Like, they do have that kind of journalist voice still, but it just seems so much more prevalent about 10 years ago, and they really could slander the shit out of people. I think things like social media makes it much easier for us to go, actually, that's not how it happened. But the especially news reporters had such power at this time that they just made her look like an idiot, and I think that's really fucking gross. Anyway, sorry, that was my little rant.
No, that's
around the
okay.
Australian media.
Finally, after 5 weeks, Schapelle is taken to Carabocan prison.
Oh my God, you say it like that?
Well, I listened to the audiobook.
Oh, I've never said it like that.
That's
I
how
say
the audio...
Carabocan.
Carabocan. Yeah, the girl in the book said Carabocan.
I mean, say it however you like. I'm just like, wow, I haven't heard of it like that. Maybe I've just made it sound fancier.
Maybe, I don't know.
It's our non-regional
it's the media.
accent.
It's the bloody media, I tell you.
Carabocan.
Carabocan.
Catch a bogan.
Catch a bogan prison, exactly.
Catch a bogan.
Otherwise, it's known as Hotel K. So being taken from location to location, say from a police station to a prison to a holding cell, blah, 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 blah. Media crowds her, yelling questions and taking photos. So everywhere Schapelle goes at this point, it's chaos. It's cameras flashing and it's people yelling at her and it's journalists just trying to get in her face. So a journalist would ask her a question like, what do you want to say to the Australian people? And all she can manage to say is help me.
Terrifying.
That's like goosebumps instantly.
So let's talk about Hotel K. So built in the late 1970s, Carabocan was designed to house around 400 inmates. And we've heard this story how many times? It regularly housed well over 1,000. It's such a, we hear this all the time with prisons.
Yeah.
Cells often squeezed in up to 15 people at a time. And this space was used for sleeping, cooking, and storage. Everything you own in this prison, you must provide for yourself and understand that it's all subject to thieves.
Can I just jump in here?
Go for it.
There's actually it's called Hair Aid. And Hair Aid's run by this amazing lady called Selena. And Hair Aid is an organisation founded here in Australia that does take teams of volunteer hairdressers overseas to Indonesian slums and the like, including Hotel K.
Really?
To teach people, prisoners, otherwise low, poverty people, hairdressing skills. So when they come out, they can provide. I have been asked to go.
Really?
Yeah, and I just said I'm not mentally strong enough to go and do something like that. there is no way in hell I'd be going to Hotel K to be doing
voluntarily.
Voluntarily. Also, Scissors in prison, I just feel like it's
I was going to say
problem
that
waiting to happen. But seriously, and then again after reading this, I just couldn't. I think there'd be so much bad juju there, you know?
That's a really good idea, though. I'm really glad that there are people willing
Yes.
to do that. That's wonderful. And that's like, what kind of rehabilitation are people getting with 15 people in a cell?
None.
What's
That's what they're
gonna
getting.
happen?
Absolutely none.
I just feel like these jails are not for rehabilitation.
No.
So it's hot water. It's hot running water is minimal.
It's hot.
It's
and
hot.
running. Yeah. So the climate is hot.
Oh,
is what I
wonderful,
meant.
wonderful. So it's, I can imagine actually, Bali being quite humid. Running water is minimal, and with women every day having to fill up a bucket of water at the well pump that had no water pressure, so a bucket would often take half an hour to fill, and it was used for washing. And is that washing bodies, clothes, everything?
Washing hands, washing faces, brushing your
all the
teeth, washing your
things.
clothes,
Yeah, and
flushing the toilet.
Flushing the toilet that would often overflow into the cells. Animals would come in to the cells all day and night, from rats to toads to giant worms, which I can't with a giant worm.
I would just cry the entire time.
Yeah, I can deal with rats and toads,
No.
not
Yeah.
giant
With
worms.
the worm, there was one of her
No.
cellmates that actually lost it, didn't she, at the worm situation?
I would. I don't even like dirt. Jail
Yeah.
in the third world country is not for me.
Not it.
So family and friends and even strangers were welcome to visit as often as they liked, which made it easier for Schapelle to access the things she needed, such as toilet paper, food and shampoo. Her family visited as often as they could, although sometimes had to be in Australia to oversee other parts of the case. So it would have been hard for her family because they've got to be in all places at once. They're trying to look after her over there, but also they're trying to cover her legal issues.
I can imagine it's not an easy feat.
No. So Mercedes at the time was married to a Balinese man, so lived in Bali for the bulk of Schapelle's incarceration. However, it had been her original plan to move her children back to Australia sooner. It's really lucky for her that she had family in Bali. I mean, really, really lucky.
Yeah, it could have been a very different story.
Absolutely.
Yeah. I looked up on a map where Karabokan is. It's kind of between Legi and Seminyak.
Yeah.
Which I thought it was right in the middle of Denpasar, but it's actually outside
No,
a
it's
bit.
kind of over yonder a bit.
Yeah.
We went past it. Don't you have to go past
Really?
it? Oh, yeah, it must have been in 2019. Why did we go past it? With my driver. We were going somewhere and he said, that's Karabokan. And I was like, oh, we'll just keep driving.
Wow.
So it just looks like a building. So it just looks like a prison. There's like big walls around it and then it's set back from the thing. I just kind of remember red and grey, like kind of bricks and... Yeah, I tried not to really
Think about it too much.
Yeah, I saw in an interview that they were outside of the prison, and there's just people around. There's kids riding bikes. It's like the wall of the prison and life happening.
Yeah,
right
because
there.
on the other side, so this is the wall of prison here and this is the road. On that side, it's all beautiful rainforest and bridges and
And I think
flowers.
Merck said in the interview, if we started yelling out, Schapelle could probably hear us, which is just insane. That's
Yeah.
not a prison.
Yeah.
That's ridiculous.
Hi everyone, it's Gemma here. I just wanted to let you know that this episode was so long that I split it into two. So I hope that you'll join us next week for part 2 of Schapelle's story. And we would love to hear your opinions on this. As always, you can find us on Instagram at I Think My Fridge is Haunted. That's where we most like to hang out. Let us know, do you think Schapelle is innocent or guilty? Do you think she was set up? What is your theory? Until next time, everybody, be creepy, but don't be a creep.